Ex-Navy, while on the USS Pyro AE-24. Let's just get that out of the way. Staying fantail watch late one night along the California coast, I was admiring the faint, luminescent algae in our wake when I saw something glowing, bright green moving straight towards me through the water. I actually reported it as a possible torpedo. All my brain could dredge up was when the glowing green, a long shape was racing at my ship. Roving patrol got sent to see if I was intoxicated, as the ship hadn't blown up, and I was now reporting two such glowing submerged bogies repeatedly launching themselves at the back of the ship. Roving patrol confirmed my sobriety, and what was I seeing? Soon, every hand that was awake was on the fantail admiring the sight. Though we never got proof, we were pretty sure it was two dolphins playing tag with the ship. It actually looked like that they were swimming between the screws and the hull, which would explain their high speed of approach, which agitated the luminescent algae to a bright, vivid green around them. The first moment was one of the more frightening of my life. In the time it continued, some of the most beautiful. So, this happened a couple years ago, but I had completely forgotten about it until now. So did my boyfriend, who was present at the time. First, I'll explain the context to you. I don't believe in God, and I'm very down to earth, though I'm very interested in paranormal stories, especially if it's happened very close to me. I'm always asking friends and relatives to tell me ghost stories or weird paranormal stuff that happened to them. Never in my life have I witnessed anything paranormal, nor felt a presence, or anything. Never until summer of 2012, actually. I'm writing it now because, as I said earlier, I had never thought about it before, and now I want answers. So it's July 2012, and I'm off with my boyfriend on vacation. He inherited a small house on the island of Brittany. It's in France. It's called Groix. It's situated a few kilometers off the southern coast of Brittany. You can only get there with a ferry. It's pretty small and only a few inhabitants live there all year long. There's not much to do, but it's really beautiful, and it's a nice place for a quiet vacation. We like to go for rides during the daytime as well as nighttime. Breath. I'll start telling you my story, which is true, by the way. I am not writing fiction. So one night, a clear night dozed in moonlight. It's important to remember this. We went out around midnight for a ride on the island. As we were used to do so, we headed to a beach whose name I can't remember, that goes along a small family vacation village. Just a quick description of the area. The small family vacation village is situated on a big curve bordered by a small road. Alongside the road is a strip of grass and sand. When standing on the strip, you can have a really nice view of the beach and the sea which lie below. The road and village are situated on some kind of steep cliff. To go down on the beach, you have to walk down sheer, narrow stairs. Kay, my boyfriend, and I were standing on by the road on the strip of sand grass for like 10 minutes, looking down at the sea. I need to point out that it was a calm, clear night, and we hadn't seen anyone during our ride. We were walking along the beach for a while and hadn't noticed anything strange, nor signs of human presence on the beach. No night swimmers. The water is very cold in Brittany, even in the summer. No young person having a party on this beach, etc. So we were staying on the cliff, facing the sea, when suddenly, straight ahead of us, we saw a human-shaped figure get out of the water and hurried across the beach. I know, it's nothing scary so far, except the figure was pitch black, contrasting with the clear sand and was not reflecting any kind of light, like a dark shadow. It's weird because remember the moon was shining. We were the first to thought it was someone skinny dipping. Problem is, when you're going out in the sea, you first swim to the edge of the sea, then you stand up and walk out of the water. This figure gradually went out all the time, standing tall, as if it was walking on the bottom of the ocean. Moreover, Kay and I had been looking at the water for a while and never noticed anyone swimming, as if it was totally immersed for at least 10 minutes. At the sight of it, I felt practically uncomfortable. Not to say really freaked out. So was my boyfriend, who is not easily scared. Weirdest part is, once the human-shaped figure out of the water, it headed straight towards the foot of the cliff where we were standing. But it wasn't walking or running. It was sliding on the sand. Sliding. It was moving really fast. A pitch black human shape with unrecognizing face and features, sliding fast as heck on the sand. Almost gliding. I am not even joking. Not moving its legs or anything, leaving no trail or footprints behind. We stared at it silently until it got a few meters away from the foot of the cliff. Then, without talking, we decided to get the F out of Dodge. Still, with this feeling of dread and fear, we never saw or heard of this creature ever again, and nothing strange happened during the rest of our vacation. My boyfriend, however, has witnessed strange things on this island before, but nothing that related to this story. I'm posting this story because I'm hoping someone saw the similar thing that I did, so that they can provide some solid explanation. This encounter is still unsettling to us because we just cannot explain it. So please, if you have any information about what this creature could be, please tell me now. This is a story that happened to me when I was a child. I thought I'd share it here. I've never really shared this with anyone before, so here we go. This took place back in 2008. If my memory serves me right, me and my family had just moved to Costa Rica, and we really enjoyed spending most of our time at the beach. One beach in particular, which was near a lovely little river I like to swim in. It was on the same beach that 9-year-old me found a dead body floating in the ocean. To give a little context, I had been playing on the beach, which we thought was relatively safe beach. So, my parents were further up. How wrong we were about it being safe. I remember seeing something floating in the water, but I wasn't sure what it was, so I went to investigate and found a dead man just floating there. Part of his leg had been hacked off. It was obvious that he had not drowned. The man was clearly murdered. Around this time, we had about a recent string of murders that had happened on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. This is where we were. And on the Pacific side, the murders had been happening around every 6 months, rotating in between both regions of the country. So, there was reasons to assume that this murder had been done by the same person, since it seemed to fit the timeline. As far as I can remember, the details of the murder were never disclosed in any local newspaper, only that the man had been a tourist from England, so there was no way for anyone who had not seen the man on the beach to know the specifics of his murder. Eventually, the whole thing blew over, and we returned to the same beach. I can't quite remember the time frame, but it was definitely within a few months of me finding the dead man that this next part happened. One day, I was swimming in the river with my mother when the very strange man popped up out of the water, startling us. He had a spear gun in his hand and a snorkel mask on. Anyways, he began talking to my mom, and I think we could tell that there was something really off about this guy. I wasn't really paying attention for most of the conversation, but I do remember bringing up the most recent murder on the beach, and he seemed to know a lot of great details about it, which, as I previously mentioned about the murder on the newspaper, was not available to the public. It almost seems like he was trying to confess that he was the one who murdered the man, but without directly saying so. He also talked about how he traveled between the Caribbean and the Pacific side of Costa Rica, spending half a year in each spot. Eventually, they also got to the topic of what he did for a living, and he went to a great detail about how he made the masks for every movie eyes wide shut, and that he would make those masks, and I presume other ones, based on real-life human emotions, and that he specifically liked capturing the look of fear. We were totally taken aback by this guy, and I really didn't know what to do. Eventually, he just got back into the river and swam away, and thankfully, we never saw him again. I do not know if this was related or not, but the weird strain of murder suddenly stopped after that. I'm sorry for the long post, but I also tried to find the article about the man who was murdered, so I could link it, but so far, I couldn't seem to find any information about it. My dog rescued me, and I want to tell you about it. This all happened yesterday, and I'm writing this on my phone from my motel room, so please forgive my grammar errors. Here we go. Fort Bragg, California is a small beach town northwest of Sacramento. It has been kind of a Stephen King feel to it. You know what I mean. That misty, almost eerie small harbor town. It's beautiful and a huge tourist attraction. You get people all over the United States to travel here. My fiance and I decided to drive up here after I had to take some time off of work due to stress. It was the last minute decision, and we packed up our bags in less than 10 minutes, grabbed our dog, and took off. If we wouldn't have had our dog with us, I'm pretty sure I would have lost her. I guess this is where I tell my story, right? It's our second day here now, and we're staying at a motel that overlooks the ocean. You can see the fog roll in during the early hours of the morning and watch the fishing boats leave the harbor to go to their haul for the rest of the day. It really is a beautiful thing to see. We woke up early, and I was craving, and I mean craving, eggs and bacon. After getting dressed and decided what spot to stuff our faces at, we left for our morning adventure. See, here's where I made my mistake. I was driving down the road, and it looked like the stop we crawled up to was a 4-way stop sign. I guessed wrong, because when I pulled out and cut off a small Ford Ranger with a dinky trailer attached to it, 2 old men driving, I realized a little too late that I had cut them off. They threw up their hands and pointed at me, but Lily didn't even notice it. I threw up my hands to say, "Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm just a stupid tourist," kind of wave. And they just stared me down. It was a hillbilly standoff that George Strait would be proud of. I didn't think much of it and kept driving down the foggy 2-lane road to get breakfast. I didn't even think to say or anything about it. I never thought I'd see them again, and I did want her to complain about me not knowing how to drive. I was wrong, and I'll never forget what happened next. We got back to the motel after a not so great but overly expensive breakfast. We cuddled up and talked about our plans for the future and what we wanted to do in life. But midway through our conversation, she realized that we were out of dog food to feed Bruce. I agreed to going up to that cute, creepy market and grabbing a bag of goodies. I kissed her in the cheek and jumped into the Navy. We called our navigator Navi. Anyways, I left and got about halfway to the store before I realized that I forgot my wallet. When I pulled back into the parking lot, I saw it. The same Ford Ranger with the janky trailer attached to it. The only difference was that Hank and Boomhauer weren't inside of it. I don't remember seeing them here last night, I thought. I walked up to our door while looking over my shoulder wondering, what are the chances that these douchebags are staying here? And then, not 2 seconds later, my heart started beating faster. Our motel room was open, but barely cracked. It was open slightly to the point where you could see a silver of light, but nothing more. I slowly pushed it open and looked inside, but I didn't see anything. Lily and Bruce were both gone. It was like they were never really there at all. My heart started racing, and I dropped my keys on the floor and ran outside, heart pounding in my chest faster than a jackhammer in New York. I didn't see the creepy old guys from the old Ford truck or Lily outside. I was becoming angry and frantic by this point. Oh my god, where are you guys at? I thought, before the screaming inside my head was cut off by the sound of familiar barking. I heard Bruce barking, and I ran. I ran faster than I ever ran in my entire 28 years of life. I ran straight over to the front office where the sound was coming from, and that's when I saw her and our dog inside the office. She was crying, sitting on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, and his hair was standing straight up until he saw that it was me sprinting towards them. Lily got up and ran to my arms. Meanwhile, the clerk is on the phone, and I'm wondering, what the F just happened in 2 minutes while I was gone? This is what happened, and I was told by her, and it makes my blood run cold. It turns out as soon as I left, not 30 seconds went by, those inbred guys knocked the door. Lily opened it up thinking it was me, forgetting my wallet. When she opened it, they forced their way into the room, saying, "You can thank your boy Toy for what's coming to ya," while grabbing her and covering her mouth. But those guys didn't realize one thing, and that's we had a dog in our back seat when I cut them off. Bruce jumped off the bed and didn't hesitate to bite one of them, grabbing her. They kicked him and tried shaking him off, but he wouldn't let go. After being bit and realizing that the noise would draw attention if they didn't leave, they ran off, and Lily was able to sprint off into the front office and wait for help while Bruce followed suit. I wasn't there. I couldn't protect her. If we would have found a dog sitter and our plans weren't last minute, she would have been gone by now. But my dog was there. He did exactly what a good boy, no, the best boy would do. And for that, he is truly my best friend. If he wasn't there, what would have happened? Would she have been kidnapped, beaten, unalived, all the above? The crazy thing is that they haven't been caught yet. We filed all the reports with the local sheriff's office. I told them what happened earlier, and the cop looked right at me and said, "You're lucky your dog was there. If he wasn't, they would have got in with her, and you would have been filing a different report right now." I got tears in my eyes after that. I looked over at Lily and Bruce, and thanked God that I rescued him from that pound, because in return, he rescued the love of my life when I couldn't. I trust him with my life now. Update for you all. Since a lot of you were asking, right now Bruce is 4 years old, and he's a plot hound. Update 2. Hey guys, it's been a hectic week so far, and I'm sorry for the late update. The only information we have from the sheriff was that the truck was not owned by the people that committed this crime. Also, after going down to the sheriff's station, we could not identify the men that they arrested. They didn't look like any of the two guys that we saw, and that Lily had came in contact with. Right now, they are out there somewhere, hiding or acting like nothing happened. We are back home in Sacramento, and Bruce, as well as Lily, are both safe. If I hear anything else, I will give you guys a final update. So, this isn't my story. This is my mother's from 30 years back. I think about it a lot, considering it took place in my sleepy little hometown. My mom was about 20 at the time and had moved down to the coast, south of England. She loved being down at sea and working at the bar right up on the waterfront. It was after closing up at the bar on a Saturday night that she decided, considering it was baking hot and she was sweating from her work, to take a dip in the water. It was around midnight at the time, and although the beach is usually full of teenagers even in the early hours of the morning, it was empty. Lights are scarce along the edge of the beach, so all you have is dark water and the sounds of the waves. Halfway into the water, she noticed a man not too far along the beach. She didn't think too much of it. You got dog walkers and all sorts at the hours of the night. She thought he might just be looking at her, like people watching. But it was so dark that it was too difficult to tell. She headed deeper into the water. She had water in her chest when she was overcome with this eerie feeling. My mom has always been the type to act on her instinct after this. I kind of understand why. She turns around, and as she did, the man standing behind her pushed her down on top of her head. She panicked, and as soon as she lost her footing on the sand, she started to slip under the water. She only just managed to get her footed again, kicked him hard where it hurts, and started hightailing towards the shore at a painful rate. Running in wet clothes through water is almost impossible. She got out and turned around just once to see him standing in the water. He stood there just watching her. She barreled towards her car, threw herself in, and drove straight home. She made sure to take an old route just in case him or an associate or his on whatever was on a trail. She was pretty shaken up. She kept an eye out for him for the rest of the summer, and so did her manager. But she had barely seen his face. God knows where he is now, but most people stay local to the town. She told me what scared her is how calmly he tried to drown her. It was like it was the easiest thing to do. So casual. I don't take my chances alone by the water anymore. To the man who tried to drown my mother, let's not meet. Myself and 4 friends assigned to a yacht delivery from Maui to Sausalito. We were on a 42 gaff catch that was returning from a South Pacific cruise, just south of San Francisco and about 700 miles off the coast. We were hit hard by a submarine object, which placed a sizable hole in the hull near the stern on the starboard side. The boat sunk in less than 3 minutes. We had 2 Avion life rafts, which we got in the water and loaded with the crew just before the boat went down. It was late summer and a large swell was running, with about 35 to 40 knots of wind. We tied the rafts together and deployed a sea anchor. But the first night, one of the rafts was dealt a direct hit by a large breaking wave, and we were separated. I spent 21 days on that raft with a 20-year-old woman. I was 26 at the time. We had no food or fishing gear and about 5 gallons of water. All of our survival gear was lost into the collision. We were eventually picked up by a Chinese container ship on the 21st day. We told them about the other raft, and a large search was begun. The other day, the raft was discovered on the 28th day. 2 people had died on that one on the 19th, and the other on the 20th day. It was the most extreme situation I have ever heard of or read about. After many years of searching, almost no sleep, no food, hypothermia, North Pacific storms, and severe dehydration, amongst other things. I never expected to survive, never even thought about it. I just assumed that it was just a matter of time. I would have maybe lived another week. My friend would have died within 24 hours. It changed my life forever. It changed who I was forever. I stayed on the ocean, in the ocean, etc. For many years after that, my feelings for the Pacific Ocean transcend human thoughts or explanation. more deliveries, big wave surfing. I have surfed 20-foot waves on offshore reefs by myself, commercial fishing, and eventually boat building. The only place I felt home was on the beach. Eventually I went back to school, and I'm now a registered nurse. So for now, I try to access people who are dealing with traumatic events, PTSD, etc. It's been a long road. There is so much to say about the experience that it would be impossible to put it all down in format. I have feelings at the ocean that I would have a hard time describing to anyone else. It is my home, and it will always will be. What happened out there was reality, unlike anything else I've ever known. Ultimate, no BS, no hardcore, none human reality. The absolute, ultimate truth is that the human cliche, the man on the life raft, the cartoon of one guy on a sand island with one little palm tree, Gilligan's Island. Everyone can imagine it, but I can tell you that there is no way who has never been in a situation can ever understand it, or know how they would feel, or how they react, or how they would be affected. The Chinese ship dropped us off in Yokohama, Japan, 7 days later. Altogether, I had been on the ocean for 2 months. This happened in 1976. After 43 years, I dreamed about it almost every night. To some degree, I will always be on that life raft. This happened to me about 15 years ago. I was around 35 years old, a female, and the designated driver for my similar age female friend. We went to a popular seafood restaurant that had a large bar in the entire top floor, with an outside deck that wrapped around the large building, literally right on the ocean in New England. It was summer, I remembered, because we went out on the deck several times with no coats, because my friend needed to go to the designated smoking area, which was the furthest end of the outside deck. When we arrived, my friend started drinking heavily, while I only had one drink the entire night because I was driving. We happened to run into a guy that she knew casually, that just happened to be there with a group of friends, of approximately 8 male friends that I've never met. Even the male friend was more than an acquaintance. She had only chatted with them a few times at another bar that we frequented in those days. We ended up sort of hanging around with this group for the good parts of the night, which made me feel uncomfortable. Twice while in the crowd line to get to the smoking area, the male friend's supposed uncle had pressed his entire body against me while in line and did not stop doing it, even after I elbowed him and told him to stop. I had to remove myself from the line to get him to stop. My friend was already drunk by then, so didn't care. The largest member on the guy group, who was huge and muscular, had a scowl on his face and said something super rude to me with no provocation. It was so long ago that I don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember thinking, geez, just having to see how large and hulky and sour this guy looks. I just assumed that he was just mean. And now I have confirmation since no normal person would say that to a woman that he just met. It was not a pleasant night, to say the least. I basically stood around nursing my one drink, waiting for it to be over so I can drive us home. Closing time finally rolled around 1 or 2 in the morning. I had tried getting my friend to leave earlier, but she was too caught up in chatting up with her male acquaintance, who, did I mention, had a girlfriend that he was living with. Yeah, which she knew, but I think she had a thing for unavailable men. But anyway, he claimed that he hated his girlfriend and wanted to break up with her, blah, blah, blah. The male friend wanted the two of us to go to his boat with him and his 7 male friends. It was moored out in the front, and they wanted to continue the party at sea. Yes, you heard that right. They weren't even cunning enough to lie and tell us the boat would stay docked. A chill went up to my spine after hearing this, and I said to myself, absolutely not. From the get-go, I saw it as the best a poor idea. At worst, a possible fatal mistake. My drunk friend whined, begged, and pleaded me to go with her on the boat. Out in the middle of the ocean, at 2 in the morning, with a bunch of drunk men who already touched me against my will and was being rude. That was not happening. She even told me to just let her go and pick her up the next day. We were driving her car. I considered for a second, but I was afraid that something bad might happen to her, so that wasn't happening either. She was incredibly angry with me for ruining the rest of her fun night. We went home and got home safely, but I still shudder to think what would happen to her if I caved in and gone to the boat with her that night. Here's a thread about some sailors, fishermen, divers of Reddit. What are some creepy or odd weird things have you encountered during your time on or around seawater? Hello, I'm a sailor, submariner, sonar technician in the Navy for 5 years. I can't think of many odd weird things aside from the 1000% hyperinflation jokes include some guys related to flashing out other guys. Anyways, creepy. Creepy is easy. The overall sense of dread involving being inside of a steel tube, hundreds of feet underwater. When the sonar system goes down, crashes, and you frantically work to troubleshoot and repair the network because you're hundreds of feet underwater. And without the sonar, you're 100% blind to what's going on around the ocean around you. If you take creepy to the level of downright terrifying, then I would simply say, whenever any alarm, fire, flooding sounds, and it's not a drill, that's pants crapping terror. Fishermen here, recreational and also fish commercially when I was younger. Lots of creepy things have happened out here, but I'll just share it for a couple for now. First one was the time I got caught back in some sort of electrical storm. Back when I was working on an inshore dragger, out on the dead calm day in a thick pea soup fog. I'm out working on the deck, and all of a sudden, the air just feels off. I don't really know how to describe it exactly. Just like the air had a sensation to it. And I actually start to hear a faint buzzing in my ear. It's like you pulled clothing out of a dryer and you have that feeling around like electricity. And I actually started to hear a faint buzzing in my ear. At the same time, I became aware of this. The captain comes out of the wheelhouse, laughing. I look over at his hair on top of his head. It's standing on end, like if someone was rubbing a balloon all over his head. He points at me, and I realize my hair was standing on ends too. We kind of laughed about it for a minute, and then it occurs to us that there is a possibility of an imminent lightning strike incoming, and we both take cover in the wheelhouse. No lightning strike ever struck though. I guess the front just moved on, and things kind of went back to normal for after like 10 minutes or so, and we just went back to work. The second story is probably the only borderline paranormal thing that I've ever experienced. Night fishing with my wife and female friend on a local river and watching a meteor shower. just chilling, drinking, and fishing. I decided I wanted to go check out a further spot downriver. So I leave them behind and head off into the woods. I'm about 100 yards or so down the path, all alone, just me and the crickets, when I loudly heard a female say my name. Loudly. Plain as day, like someone was standing a few feet behind me and was trying to get my attention. I turn around and naturally thinking that one of the girls followed me to the woods, but nope, no one was there. I'm not really a huge believer in the supernatural or anything, but this absolutely freaked me out. So I just immediately head back, and sure enough, they're still hanging out in the riverbank, watching the meteor shower. There is absolutely no way I could have heard them that clearly from that far away. I told them what happened, and they still think to this day that I was just messing with them and trying to scare them. But I'm telling you, I still get the willies thinking about it. And in fact, I've never been back to that spot since. Hello, I'm a bass fisherman. But my fiance likes to fish for catfish, so one night, I decided to take her night fishing for catfish since she didn't get to go with me very often on my bass fishing excursions due to work schedules. Anyway, we were fishing and have a nice little campfire going, and I just start to feel off. I've been an outdoorsman all my life, and I don't get freaked out too easily, but about the woods or the night or anything like that, so I feel off. But I asked my fiance if she was having a good time, and she said that she was, but now she's feeling creeped out too. So we waited for a few seconds, and then that's when I noticed that there was not a single sound in the area. No bugs, no sounds of birds, nothing. I tell my fiance that it's time to pack up, and to do it so quickly, but not in a panic way. She asked me why, and I said that sometimes when a predator is nearby, it will get really quiet. We packed up, and as we were about to drive, I hear something large stepping on the branch and made a loud crack. Anyway, I don't know what it was, but I had seen bear droppings near the time. So it could have been that, a coyote, or it could have just been our minds playing trick on us. Certainly nothing that I think is supernatural, but those kinds of things will definitely make you feel vulnerable. So this actually happened back in 2016 when I was around 15 years old. I had never been around the ocean before, but I've always wanted to. I love the water and swimming in general, so I was stoked when my dad and stepmom took my little niece and I to Florida. We went to Cocoa Beach. I think it was, and overall, was a blast. I didn't get out of the water, even after this happened. I was just a little more cautious, and I wound up getting severe sun poisoning due to being in the water for 8 hours straight. But that's besides the point of the story, though. So after about 4 hours in the ocean, only going up to my chest, I decided to back float for a bit and take a break from swimming. It was pleasant. The waves gently rocked me back and forth in the surface. The sun was hot, but felt nice after I was swaying in the cool water. I had my eyes closed and my ears were under the water, so I didn't notice when I began drifting further and further away out. I didn't feel like I was moving at all, but apparently I was. Before I realized how far I strayed from the beach, I got a very eerie feeling, and the ambience under the waves suddenly felt and sounded sinister. like I passed a threshold of some sort. I got a gut feeling that I was in danger. I slowly opened my eyes and flipped myself upright, only to realize that I could no longer touch the bottom. The water below me no longer looked clear, but instead, it looked like a cloud of darkness. I frantically began looking around for the beach, and then I saw that I was about a football field away from it. I couldn't even see my dad from where I was. Swiftly, I began stroking towards the beach with a gut-wrenching feeling that something was about to grab me from under the waves. I have never been more grateful for the swimming lessons that my grandma forced me to take when I was 11 years old. I finally made it back to the beach, out of breath, of course, and told my dad what just happened. He scolded me for a little bit and called me a goof, but that was it. Afterwards, I still went into the ocean, but not above my waist. I honestly don't think that there was anything after me in retrospect. There were helicopters on Shark Watch the whole time when we were there, but that's what I could remember. I think I was just wound up drifting to a drop-off or something, but it was still a terrifying experience nonetheless. Please be aware of your surroundings while you're in the water. It felt like I was only floating for 2 minutes before I got out of that far, and I'm really glad that I got that gut reaction when I did. I just wanted to share this experience, and I hope you all have a great day, and please stay vigilant. Thank you guys so much for supporting me in these past videos. It's been amazing, and you guys have been interacting with me in the comments and the community tabs, and I love it. Thank you. If you guys are enjoying what I'm uploading, then I'll keep going. But please, if you have a personal story that you want me to narrate, submit it to silverscarystories@gmail.com. And also, please, if you have any more suggestions of video topics, please let me know in the comments and on the community tab. I'm going to be making a playlist for rain sleepy videos and have certain selected videos that I think will be an ideal for a good night's sleep, because I'm well over 8 hours of content that I could put into a playlist. So go out and check out the playlist in the playlist tab. I'll have it named as 8+ hours of slumber videos. Thank you again. I hope you enjoyed these true scary ocean stories, Volume 1. If you made it this far, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy these stories. Please consider subscribing, as you'd be helping me reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you are asleep, well, maybe you can hear me in your dream world. Keep dreaming, as is the only time we can escape reality. And I'll let you listen to the ocean. Enjoy the slumber world.